But I am a reformed painfully shy girl who accidentally said yes to a speaking opportunity. I was putting together a networking event. I was part of the planning team, and the other three women looked at me and said, "You do the speaking," because we were doing education plus networking. And my head did this. And inside, I was like, "What are you doing? You're not a speaker. You're shy." Like, I'm shy. I'm quiet. But self-integrity is one of my biggest values. And so I showed up and I did the thing because I said yes.
Daniel, and you are about to watch a clip from our free podcast, The Coach's Journey, where we help you navigate the surprisingly difficult path of building a coaching business by people who are actually doing it. And we go live, raw and unedited every week in our free Facebook community. All right, Coaches Nation, welcome to another exciting edition of the Coach's Journey podcast. I'm Daniel, and I'm here with Faisal and our special guest, Laurie-Ann. And today our topic is stop hiding behind your coaching, how speaking builds trust before you ever sell. And Laurie is an expert on speaking, who I'm really excited to hear about today because I just had a speaking gig, and it'll probably come up where I can talk about a little bit about it, and she can help me understand like what went well or what didn't go well or where I can improve. I'm really excited about that part. And also, I know Faisal does a lot of speaking, so Laurie, I'm excited to have you here with us. And Faisal, do you want to say a little bit before we jump into this?
Sure, super excited to have Laurie-Ann here. And I'll share a little bit of a story. I got connected to Laurie-Ann because I referred her to one of my clients, and I had never met her. She just came through my network. I had asked a bunch of coaches that I knew that I respected around me, "Hey, do you know any coach who specializes in this area?" And he was looking for executive presence and somebody who specifically specialized in that area. I'd been working with this client for close to a year at that point. And Laurie was one of three people that I recommended, and he ended up working with Laurie-Ann. And later on, when I spoke to my client, and he said that went very well. He got a lot out of it. And Laurie-Ann had messaged me thanking me that, "Hey, thank you for the referral. We got to talking, and that led to this collaboration," which is really cool. And I just want to share the power of, first of all, your reputation, two, the power of referrals, three,
Yes.
the power of collaboration, which led us to the space. So maybe we'll start this off with Laurie-Ann's story a little bit. What got you into speaking and coaching, and how do you get to be such an awesome coach and speaker?
Well, thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here for everybody. And Faisal, I do have to ask you a question that I didn't ask you when we were on that
Sure.
initial call, and that's, do you remember who referred me? And I'll let you think about that because I don't really want to put you on the spot, but I actually want to use it as an example of the power of speaking because speaking is the gift that keeps on giving. And I can talk more about that after. But I am a reformed painfully shy girl who accidentally said yes to a speaking opportunity. I was putting together a networking event. I was part of the planning team, and the other three women looked at me and said, "You do the speaking," because we were doing education plus networking. And my head did this. And inside, I was like, "What are you doing? You're not a speaker. You're shy." Like, I'm shy. I'm quiet. But self-integrity is one of my biggest values. And so I showed up and I did the thing because I said yes. And I was not an eloquent speaker. I made so many mistakes, but I'm going to tell you how it started. I spoke for about 20 minutes and I turned into what I call the college professor. And the college professor just stands up there and dishes out information, no stories, no great information, no connecting with the audience. And then I ended. And I told people, if you would like to ask me any questions, I'll be in the back of the room. People came up to me and said, "Laurie, do you have a website? Do you work with clients?" And I was thinking, what? Did you not see the train wreck in the front of the room? And I thought it was a fluke, but I did it again, and the same thing happened. So within 3 months of leaving my corporate job, I actually had a full roster of clients, and I was working just 3 days a week, making the same thing I was making when I was working for Siemens. So was in leadership development. And so that's what I did. And I worked with some little companies. Maybe you've heard of Johnson& Johnson, Daniel, by any chance. So I worked with companies like that. And I've written a couple of books. And today I have a podcast. And now I help coaches and corporate leaders really embrace speaking as their best form of marketing or the thing that's going to help them get that next big opportunity. So, Faisal, do you remember who that
Awesome.
was?
Uh, I remember the group that you came from. I don't remember the exact person I was looking. I might have to do some digging, but it's a very
That's
active
okay.
group. It's on WhatsApp, and messages get buried. After if I go there after a week, there are like 100 messages. So.
Okay. The thing, what I wanted to use it as an example, and this was not planned or anything, is that that's what happens. Somebody might have seen me speak at an event, at a conference, in a private community, a mastermind, and everybody who is in your audience, whether that's live or virtual, like we're doing right now, everybody has said a little yes, a micro yes to listening to you. So this is one of the best benefits of speaking is you can go to a networking event or get to know people on social one relationship at a time, or you can get up there and be the speaker and speak to 25, 50, 100 people and more at one time and just share your knowledge. And so that might be what happened, Faisal, is that somebody was in the audience and then might have started to follow me. And that could be why I was still top of mind for that person.
So maybe, but what I remember is the three potential that I shared was
Mhm.
though were those who had actually worked with you. So this might have been a coach who actually directly worked with you. It might have been, and that's why I gave it a little bit of a high. It was more of a referral rather than those who they had just heard of
Mhm.
somewhere. And since this was a closed coaches group, and I know the level of coaches they are, they probably got a lot of value from it. And when I sent it to my client, I said, do your due diligence, but it came from a trusted network, and he probably did his part in that process. But I can definitely see why somebody would refer you based on what you speak on, because that's happened to me multiple times as well, where somebody just heard me speak somewhere. Here's the interesting thing. It wasn't even, let's take it one level deeper. I got three clients reaching out to me in the past, I think, I don't know the exact timeline, but maybe in the past 4 years, but three specific clients that reached out to me, not because I made the speech, but one of my clients was on stage, and that client spoke very well, had an incredible energy, and each of them that reached out to me, they said that I want to feel like this client of yours.
Aw.
I don't know what, and she couldn't relate to her experience that much. All she could say was that I had to do a lot of work, and she credited a lot of the development to me. Now, I'm known in that circle, so they reached out to me in the background, or they had conversation. I think in one case, she actually introduced me to somebody who wanted to grow in that area. But that was her presence created something powerful. That hey, there was some growth that was happening because of that. Her speaking, her story, all of it. And when people would ask, how do you speak like this? Well, I've done a lot of work. I can't explain what that work is, but it required a lot of work, and part of that work was this, or a main part of the work was working with my coach.
Yes, yes. And like that's just the power of, like those relationships that you build like from the stage with audience members and people seeing your work. Faisal is very powerful also.
Yeah.
So
Daniel, did you have any input here?
where do you want
I
to
think
begin?
I there's so much to talk about. I'll just share like a little reflection is that like I haven't done a ton of speaking. I've done it a little bit here and there.
Mhm.
And when you get in front of a group, that's a whole bunch of people that have this experience that you're describing. They see you, they hear you, they feel you. It embeds in their brain like, oh, this is somebody who is about this. Or if you do a good job of making them feel a certain way, then they'll remember how they felt, right? And so then that's the opportunity when somebody is looking for something, they'll remember that. It'll stand out in their mind more. So one of
Yes.
the things you need to do, and I think you're going to be talking about this today, Laurie, is how to make your speech memorable in people's
Mhm.
minds, right? Like that's
Yes.
maybe one of the things that you've planned to share with us today.
Yes. So, and I'll talk about that right now, that sp you can like a really well-crafted speech. takes the audience on an experience. And there's a lot of like audience psychology that goes into what I call the in-demand signature speech methodology. You have your opening, and your opening is designed to get people to lean in. We want them excited. We want them to put their phones down and ignore the bings. But what naturally happens is that then your audience naturally leans back and crosses their arms. And what they're thinking is, but why should I listen to you? And that's where your authority section comes in. And it's not a boring resume. You want it to be something really engaging, but it gives your credibility. So, for instance, when you asked me to introduce myself, I told you I'm a reformed, painfully shy girl. Everybody that's in the audience that is shy is thinking, oh, she's just like me. Maybe I could do what she's done. If she's worked for Johnson and Johnson, maybe I could do something like that. So I dropped a name like Johnson and Johnson. That also adds to my credibility, but it's a story. It's not a boring resume. So I tell the story. So that's your authority section. And then you just have these little transitional phrases that go from section to section. And your next section is like, all right, enough about me. Let's dive into what you came here to learn. And that's where you're going to teach 3 different points. Now, first off, you're going to decide why you're speaking. So I always tell my clients that there are 2 reasons, there are 2 questions that you need to answer. And those 2 reasons are going to guide your speech. The first reason is, what do you want the audience to do, think, feel differently after they hear you speak? And then what do you want to get out of the speech? Because yes, you as a speaker, you're not just getting up there just to share some information. I want you to get whatever you want out of this. Maybe it's, I want people to sign up for my email list. I want people to get on calls. Great. That's the goal. That's the finish line. Now let's work our way backwards. What has to happen in order for people to say yes to whatever that is at the finish line? Okay. And then we figure out what those 3 blocks are. So you have 3 tips, nothing more. So Daniel, if you were my client, I would tell you, I want you to brainstorm everything that you want to talk about. All the different tips and pieces of information that you want. So it's almost like you're going on a trip and you can pack as many suitcases as you want. Okay. And so let's just say you're going to have 2 checked bags. Now I'm going to tell you, now I want you to narrow it down to a carry-on. So now you got to go through everything that you were going to pack, and now you can only take a carry-on. And then I say, great. Now I want you to put everything in a backpack. So that's how you come up with your 3 things. And then each point you're going to have to defend. You become a lawyer. You have to defend your point. And you defend your points with 3 great tips, stories, case studies, analogies, metaphors. And then you just move on to your next point and your next point. And then you have your call to action. What do you want the audience to do? Because if you did a really good job, people are raising their hands saying, me, I want that. And then you have a nice little close and you tie up your presentation in a pretty little bow. That's the in-demand signature speech methodology. You get people to lean in, they lean back so that they lean back in and they listen to all of your information. So you're giving really good value. It's not an infomercial. So those are the different blocks.
I heard the groups of 3s there is a really powerful way to think about sharing information, right?
Yes. All right.
Is
We
there
are at
any psychology behind the 3s?
Well, yes, there is. Have you ever heard of the Baskin-Robbins study?
I think
2
the one
ice
where there's
cream.
too much choice.
Yes, when you have like 31 flavors and you got like store by store, they actually tracked how many people went into Baskin-Robbins. Baskin-Robbins got more foot traffic, but the other ice cream place that only had 3 flavors had more buyers. So the human brain actually loves 3. If you only give them one choice, and so for everybody who's listening, you should do this with any proposal that you give people is to have 3 options. Your first option is, here's my bare minimum. And the human brain thinks, well, what if I don't like that only option? That's why I need to have another option. But if you only have 2 options, people are like, yeah, I don't really like this, but I don't really like that. That's why having a 3rd option gives the human brain choice. People feel in control.
Awesome. So I love the process. Now, every coach that I've worked with, that we've worked with, they have this, and just like I had it when I was starting out, just like you had it as a shy girl. When I was starting out, I was deathly afraid of just talking to people.
Hmm.
And one of two routes I've seen that happens. Either they convince themselves that they're just gonna write in the background,
Yeah.
and they will, and in many cases I've even seen that they hide behind that too, because that becomes to they're still putting themselves out there. But some become successful in that route, they go forward, but many don't, because the problem is the same. They don't want to put themselves out there. Now they've kind of dodged the speaking thing. They go towards writing, and then when you talk to them about that, they're struggling with that too, because they have to become vulnerable. They need to share stories. They need to share some of the things that they're going through.
Yeah.
And when I was starting out, I had to force myself. It was like I didn't I saw how important it was for the brand itself long term. I didn't expect somebody will hire me just because I'm speaking right away at the time. And this is like we're talking 11 years ago, but I forced myself to do a bunch of videos, and that was painful. And slowly as I did that, that got easier and easier and easier. I know one of the first things I had to deal with was the all sorts of limiting beliefs. But one of them was that, oh, I'm an introvert. I don't know if I can do this. I threw that out because I said, well, if I'm gonna be a trainer, I'm gonna be a communicator, I'm gonna be a leader, this is one of the skill sets I need to learn. It's not about me. It's how I can communicate something that others will get value from, so they understand what my message is, what my services are, how I can support them further. That was my thought process, but I've found that that's not always the case with a lot of coaches. They resist this process a lot, and they require a lot of push in this area. And of course, I had to be coached too. I didn't just make this up on my own. I had to be pushed by those around me, by my coaches, by my mentors. But what are your thoughts? Like, how can somebody get out of that process of hiding behind their beliefs or identity or character, or all kinds of stuff that stops them from putting their message out?
I interviewed John Lee Dumas on my podcast, and I interviewed him specifically because I heard him talk about on stage about his first speaking event. Now, here's a man who speaks on a podcast, and he's behind the scenes. Like, you don't actually have to see him, but he got asked to speak, and he told me about it. He goes, "It was terrible." And I, of course, being the very good speech coach, said, "Why'd you do it again?" And he said, "I had no reason to believe that I would be good at that. It was the first time I ever did it, my first rep." So, how do you get those reps in where you can do something again and again and just get better and better at it? So, one of the ways that you can get better at speaking, I mean, like once upon a time, like when I first started, there was no Instagram. There certainly wasn't an Instagram Live or even stories. But today you get to pick up your phone and practice talking to the camera for 60 seconds. That's doing a rep. So that's one way to get better at it. Another way is just to take your phone and record yourself when you're speaking with a client and then edit, like listen to yourself. How did you explain everything? What were the questions that, like, just being able to do those self audits is really going to be helpful. And you just got to do the reps. You got to put yourself out there and let people know that I'm new at this, but I want to do this. I have a message to share.
You're saying get yourself in front of the camera over and over and over again, whether it's within your own private recording yourself or in Instagram or with clients, and just secondly go watch yourself doing it. This
Yes,
kind of
yes,
reminds me, like as a musician performer, one of the reasons I got better at performing on stage is I just did it so many times, and you practice at home, and then you go and practice on stage, and then it's always different on stage when you're live, and then
yes.
I always watch my performances and say like, hey, where was the good stuff and where was the improvement opportunity? And I think as coaches we can do well to watch ourselves on our client calls, to watch recordings of ourselves, whether we do a speech or whether we do just a simple client conversation. When you watch your own performance, it automatically cues your brain as to remember things about what's good and what's not. right?
Yeah, I mean you're self-critiquing. So here's what I would recommend to people is there are three ways for you to basically audit yourself. You watch it with no volume.
Mm.
Then you close your eyes or you turn the phone on the other side and you just listen. And then you watch and listen. You will get three pieces of information, three different perspectives when you do that. And I know what most people are going to say, but I don't want to watch myself. I don't like my voice. I don't like the way I look on video. Well, in the speaking world, what we say is like other people have to listen to you. So, like, why shouldn't you listen to yourself?
You're not willing to put yourself through the same experience you're putting other people through.
Yes. And I'm just trying to get out of this. I have a top light up here, a
See it.
window.
Yeah. Those are good tips. I think
Yeah.
that actually goes well just for just about any type of performance. When you see the
Yes.
non-verbals and then you see the verbals and then you see it combined, it's a very different experience of it. I'm gonna
Yes.
try that for some of my music videos and say like, how did
Yeah.
I appear with no music and no audio,
Yeah.
and
Just
then flip it.
watching
Yeah,
yourself, your
yeah,
body
super
language.
interesting. Yeah.
And I know the other big thing that a lot of people are thinking, but I don't know what to talk about. And every single one of you that's watching this, you already have a speech in you. And you can answer the top questions that people ask you about what you do and the results that you get for people. It can just be like Q&A. Answer the top questions, but still have that opening, your authority section. Three great questions. I might even say in that sort of a situation, you might be able to get away with five questions. But remember, they all have to lead to the finish line.
What do you mean by the finish line?
The end goal of the, like, whatever it is, the two foundational questions. What do you want to get out of the speech? And what do you want the audience to think, feel, and do differently when you're done speaking? So
Okay.
it's like that's the
The
finish
outcomes.
line.
The outcomes.
Okay. And now I'm curious. Our all three of us have had different experiences with speaking. For me, I've used speaking to get clients. I don't usually. I've had a few of them where I've just done a short speech and there's a call to action, but a lot of them have been 60 to 90-minute coaching sessions with an audience, engaged audience in front of me. Sometimes it's been visualizations and other things to a bigger audience, but a lot of it has been a collaborative process. The
Mhm.
beginning of which always starts with my story. It always starts with what I've been able to do and what am I there to support them. So it kind of follows the path that you're talking about. But then there's been a collaborative process to support them. Many of the coaches that actually end up doing workshops or those kind of things, I recommend, hey, do a coaching session. You don't need to have a long speech prepared that kind of fills in some of the gaps of speaking that skill sets that they might not have at the
Mhm.
time, because they can bring in coaching skill sets, they can bring in facilitation skill sets in there. But what's been your experience of that? Let's say somebody puts themselves out there, they start speaking online, and they show up to some in-person events, they speak. Like, what is that journey from getting there to going there to getting clients as a coach? What does that look like? What is the timeline like? What is the skill development like in that
Well, you
process?
can start getting clients that very first speech. I mean,
Okay.
that's what happened to me that first time, but it really is about people experiencing you, whether that's in person or virtually. And I would say, Faisal, that a 60-minute speech, that's a typical speech. And for me, in my definition, anything over 60 minutes is a workshop. There's a reason why movies are 90 minutes and less. And I learned this from a director. I was actually an extra in a movie and I got to see the first viewing of this. And it was a Hollywood director and he said, like movies are 90 minutes and less because anything longer than that, blood's not going here, it's going down there. So people don't they don't think as well. So I like to give them an exercise if I'm up there in front of them for longer than 60 minutes. And there was an event where I did the opening keynote, which as soon as I said yes, they said it's 90 minutes. So I made it into a workshop. And then I did do a breakout session for them. And it was just like you said, I answered questions that they had on what I had spoken on. And so it was basically like live coaching with an audience. And people they walk away with something. Even the people who aren't being coached, the people who aren't being coached are watching And they're seeing a dramatic demonstration because that's what it is. When you're coaching, Faisal, in front of people, like that's a dramatic demonstration of what you can do for somebody. And that's why they're going to sign up with you.
Yeah, and that's why I say it takes actually courage to do that a lot of times than a lot of skill set. You might not be perfect or even great at it, but if you can support somebody, somebody else is thinking that, hey, maybe this person can help me too.
Mhm. So there's another common question that people ask, and that is, what if I forget what I'm going to say? And I always like to share this story that there have been times where I have, and I'm one of those speakers who takes the mic and I walk around and I'm looking at people and I'm engaging with them. And somebody asked me a question and I answered her question. And then I completely forgot where I was in my speech. And I didn't want to turn around to look at the slide because the slide would tell me. I just put my hand on my hip, held that microphone, and looked down at somebody and said, "What was I talking about?" And the audience laughed. They thought it was just part of the speech. And they were thinking, oh, she's just like me, or I'm just like her. It was an engaging moment. And it's okay. So
Yeah.
it's okay if you forget what you're going to say, because two things. The audience never knew what you were about to say.
You're talking about being human also, right?
Yes.
And something I
Yes.
heard recently, which I really liked, is like the audience actually wants you to succeed. Nobody wants to be a terrible
Mhm.
experience for themselves. Nobody wants you to crash and burn. They all want you to do a great job, and they're all supporting. They're all like your supporters. So if you go out there
Yes.
feeling that they're in support of you, they want to have a good experience, then you can actually like remember that they're rooting for you. And if you know that
Yes.
they're rooting for you, you have a psychology within yourself to give you a little extra confidence, and you can engage them like you just did anytime you need to. So.
Yes. So, like, come from your heart. Just go there and serve the audience. Have your presentation, have your slides if you're going to use slides. But when you come from your heart, you can't go wrong. So that when you do flub up like I did, people are very forgiving.
Most audiences are very, very forgiving. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So here's something else that I want to share with everybody. There are literally 20,000 over 20,000 speaking events that happen today. And there'll be another 20,000 tomorrow
Like in
and the
the
day
world
after.
or in North
In the
America or
world,
US?
There's a speaking
globally.
event happening 20,000 times a day, is what you're saying?
Yes, on average. This is
That's
a study that
huge.
was done by MPI, Meeting Planners International. And so they're judging a speaking event based on like a hotel or a hall room being rented. So, me speaking on your podcast, this doesn't count. But to me, this is a speaking opportunity. Here in the US, the conference and meeting industry is huge. It's probably the biggest anywhere in the world. So the US will have on average 7,500 every day. And if you break that down into 50 states, that comes out to 150 opportunities. Now
A
I live
day per state on average. Yeah.
a
You know,
day per
it's funny,
state.
like I didn't really think about the conference and this kind of industry very much until recently where I had a client referred me to somebody and I did a session with them and then I didn't even tell them anything about working together or I just had a great session. We had another call on the calendar booked. And then the next day she said, like, hey, I talked to the board and like we would just love for you to come do our closing keynote speech. They know nothing about me. So sometimes things just happen, but there's a conference happening somewhere all the time. I realized this in this process is like, oh, she just happened to be hosting a conference. And as the person organizing it, she has the power to say like, hey, we want this speaker or that speaker and bring it to the board or whatever.
Hmm.
And somehow I just got that speaking gig.
Good for
And
you.
she didn't even know
Congratulations.
that I did speaking when she said she wanted me to do that.
So she was just
So
assuming
I
the
had no
sale.
presence about speaking out there. So like you never know. Like the opportunities can be as yours was, Laurie-Ann, serendipitous, right? It
Yeah.
was somewhat serendipitous.
Yeah. So
And that got me to
7,500.
realize the conference industry is like a huge opportunity.
Yeah. And I just want people to understand that there are so many meeting planners out there that are looking for speakers. So if you're waiting for them to contact you, like they did with Daniel, like put yourself out there, let people know. Reach out to organizations, reach out to, like, think of all the associations, clubs, professional groups that you have a membership to. Reach out to them to start with. This is what I call like your warm market. So, Daniel, like Fazell, if you belong to any associations or anything that you pay for, reach out to them and say, and here's exactly what you say in an email. Hi, I such and such. I've been a member of this association, this group for the past 2 years. I noticed that we have great speakers. You're hiring some great speakers for our monthly meetings, for our quarterly meetings. I'm wondering, what's the process for finding and booking speakers? That's it. It doesn't say, here's what I speak on, here's what I want to talk about, please hire me. It just says, what's the process? Every
It's a member
association,
question. It's a member question.
yeah, every association has their process. People will answer that email as opposed to, here's how wonderful I am, here's what I speak on, please book me, I'm available for your next conference. That's the email that gets ignored. But if you want people to call you back, reply back, that's what you said. Just ask them what their process is, they'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we live in the age of AI where research has become so easy. Yeah, I mean, you could build what do you call it? An agent that can do this continuously for you in the background. You don't even have to do the
Yes.
research and pull out all the events that you could speak at. So let's say let's put it in a real world context. Let's say there's a coach that just finished their certification. They're kind of open to this process. They've done some facilitation before. You mentioned, okay, there are these associations that you belong to. That's the
Mhm.
first step. Now, let's say they needed to widen their research and they wanted to book their calendar. What would they do? How would they research? What are the organizations they need to reach out to?
Okay, I would then, after you start with your warm market, I would start with your warm friend market. Reconnect with people. If you left a corporate job, reconnect with those people. Hi, Faisal, I can't believe it's been 5 years since I was on your podcast. I'm speaking like in the future. So much has happened. I bet so much has happened in your world. I would love to get on a call and just reconnect. Feel like here's my link, book something over the next couple of weeks. That's a
Mhm.
great way to get started. Now you're having conversations with people and you're telling people about your coaching business and that you
Mhm.
have a couple of speeches. So if they happen to know of anybody who's looking for a great speaker on this topic, hopefully they'll think of you and refer you. That's another great way. Now you talked about the bot. I actually created a bot for one of my memberships that so that my clients, the people, the members that are in there can continually like reach out to these different organizations that are looking for speakers. The one thing that I'll say about that is if you are going to make a bot, make sure it's for the future. Because I did do this in my first round, like it kept sending me like past events.
Mm.
Of course.
And it's no fun to apply for like a speaking opportunity that like
An
they've already
event
closed
That's
itself.
for
really
their
funny.
their for
Little bit
their
of extra programming in there.
yes. Yeah, then you're arguing with the bot like this was last year.
I'm doing what you told me. I'm identifying speaking events. You didn't say when.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
That's
So,
funny.
Yeah.
so I'm
But
I'm 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 thinking about this as a coach who's in the first 3 years of what they're
yeah.
doing, maybe in the first 5 years. And I remember I used to think very differently then than I do now. Like everything you're saying is like, okay, I can take action on all of these things now because I have virtually no resistance to a lot of these things. But let's say a coach is starting out and they have all kinds of resistance. And they have 50 other ways to reach out to people, creating email lists, funnels, and what their mind is going to do, pick the safe route. The safe route is be behind your
Right.
computer, build your website, build your
Distract
funnel,
yourself. Yeah.
do and work with AI, build your business plan, all the things that keep you in your own little corner. What
Hmm.
would you say to somebody like that who like this is straightforward, but their mind is going to overcomplicate it?
Well, what's important to you? Is it important to you to stay behind your screen and hide? Or do you want to get out there and share your information? Like it really does come down to how important is this? Because you could send out an email, even if you have a small email list, and say, hey, I'm going to be doing this training next Tuesday at noon. Click here to sign up. Or just hit reply and let me know. I'll send you the Zoom link. And you can just do a training. You don't have to tell people what the training is. I literally have done this. I sent out an email to my list. It says, hey, next Tuesday I'm doing this training on Zoom. Click here if you want an
You
invite.
didn't tell them what it was?
I didn't. And here's why. So if you listen to my podcast, Be in Demand, before June, all of last year, you'll see this. I have these events called speaker circles. And so it was a training and nobody knew what the training was. You just showed up on Zoom. I did a little training and then people would ask me questions and this all got recorded and then put onto my podcast. So I would just tell people like I'm doing this training. I would pick something to talk about that I knew was coming up or that was timely. Like right now it's July, I would have done a speaker circle on how to get booked for this fall. Because right now you might be in vacation mode, but meeting planners aren't.
Yeah. So you
They're,
were able to do that because you have an engaged list of people that are following you. You have engaged people.
I do.
But, you know, for somebody who doesn't have that, maybe, I think would be a better answer for Faisal's question, which is like, then how would they go about it?
Well, why not just invite a few friends? Like send out a personal invite and say, and think about like what's a training, what's a common question that people are constantly asking you about what you do and how you help people. Answer that question. Make a training on that. You could come up with 4 different trainings and do them quarterly. But it's just a matter of doing the reps. Like, do you have to have a ginormous audience? Or would you be happy with like 4 or 5 people that you were doing an intimate training for?
And you got to start somewhere, right?
You
Like
really
I know
do.
like I put out trainings and workshops and things, and sometimes you get zero or one person to attend, and it's still a rep. It's still a valuable. Like I used to like be like, oh, beating myself up about that. Then I realized like, hey, this is one of the reps
It's
and the
still a
iteration.
rep.
I learned something by trying to put myself out there and showing up for the one person who did it, or recording it for the zero people who were there, and then sending
Yeah,
it back out. Because maybe nobody registers, maybe some people registered, nobody shows up, or maybe a few people show up, and then every time you do it, you get better at it,
that's right. My
and you
smallest
learn.
audience also, Daniel, was one. I
Yeah.
had one person show up and I was like, you know what? I'm still going to serve.
Yes, exactly.
Because you never know why other people either didn't sign up or maybe maybe I did a terrible job at marketing. That particular case, it was me. I
Or maybe
took
the Zoom
total
link didn't
ownership.
work. Yeah, like we have
Yeah,
that
I
happen.
just it
But
didn't work. And this was an in-person event too. Um, what else would I do besides that? If you've ever done any speaking, let's say it's before your coaching. If you've ever done any speaking, reach out to all those places also because they've known you as a speaker. They've seen you speak. Friends of yours who might be in a position to bring you into a small group. You just never know who you know.
the one strategy that I really like that you said that aligns really well with what we do with our coaches is reach out to your network and have conversations. And then sometimes in those conversations, it's valuable to say like, "Hey, how can I support you?" And I usually ask, "How can I support you?" And one of the ways you can say you can support me, "Hey, if you know anybody that's looking for speakers, on these following topics, this is me. So like, who do you know, right? And we do that around coaching as well. Like once somebody's had a good experience with you as a coach, you can ask for referrals that way. But even in a get to know you conversation, you can say, "Hey, I'm a speaker too. So
Yeah,
like, this is how you can support me." So that's
yeah,
that's a really great way for people who have everybody has a network, and if you're having
everybody
conversations with
does.
coaches, you need to be having conversations. Then you can talk about it that way, and that's how you get started in
Yeah,
getting over the hump of like the resistance you have to calling yourself a speaker. You just start being it and start recording yourself and watching yourself, and you become a speaker. You
you
know,
do. You do. It's a communication skill. It's just another skill. How do you become great at speaking? I tell people like write. How do you become a great writer? You read. So you're constantly like taking in information, you're learning, but you've also got to take action on what you've learned. And you can't just keep being the student. Like one of these days, you just got to walk to the front of the room and grab and just be the teacher.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
one of the most powerful things that it still blows my mind how it happens because I couldn't have figured this out had I not been around those kind of people. It's around it, and I learned it from investors.
Mhm.
Fortunately, many of my clients for the past at least 7+ years have been investors. And one of the most common things they do is they network. In fact, it's like the most promoted thing in their any group, any association, anything they join, they're encouraged to just meet people.
Yeah,
It's the easiest thing they do. Hey, do you want to network? I'm open to networking. I'm so and so person, get on a call. And I just saw how simple it was because I was part of another program. I was coaching them. They would just constantly reach out to each other and just
mhm.
meet with each other, and opportunities would just arise out of it. They didn't even need to know what it was.
Yeah,
And every so often, one person would be resistant to it, and then they would watch somebody else post, "Oh, I just met so and so, and we're doing a deal together." And it just hit me as like I've had such a resistance to that process. So one of the first things I did, now it's become like a normal practice, just like you and I connected. It's like my calendar has an opening at least for 3 or 4 slots of just meeting people cold, warm for 30 minutes every week. I never know what comes out of it. I have no agenda whatsoever
You mean
other
like a couple
than to
hours a
get to
week
know.
of just like open networking time that you can plug people
Open
into?
networking time. And again, if my lifestyle allowed me, I would also meet with people in person as well. But being busy with all kinds of stuff, I can do this all more virtually. So I keep that open, and I just meet random people on LinkedIn, meet random people from
That's how we
Facebook.
met.
Right.
Yeah, because
It's the
I
most.
reached out to you.
And you reached out to me, and I was open to it. And that's just because I'm open to anybody reach out to me, especially if you were connected by somebody that we care about.
Hmm.
And so, and it's such a powerful thing when I've thought about it over time. Every time I used to look at it from a coach's point of view or from a business owner's point of view, I would think about, well, nobody in my circle would pay for coaching. That's how I would think. And many coaches to this day, when I talk to coaches, they think like that. Okay, let's assume that. First of all, I don't even think that's true. But let's assume that that's true. You're
Hmm.
probably 1 or 2 people away from the head of an organization, from the head of a community, from the head of a network,
Yeah.
whatever that is. If they know that you can add value to them, then they will connect you to a bunch of other people that's nothing like your network that you're saying it is. And that's what opened up for me because all of a sudden I started getting connected to 1, 2 people removed from my network.
Hmm.
And in the process, I realized there were people hiring me from my network as well. But more opportunities opened up as I helped more people. And in fact, every time coaches ask me, well, where did you get your first clients? Well, I helped a friend, and that friend connected me with another person. And then that gave me a little bit of confidence. I asked that person. And then it pretty much has been just expanding network. And it has never been through, oh, I ran this big launch or this big funnel that I did. It has never been like that. And even the speaking engagements I've been a part of, the corporate clients that have come through exclusively from my referral network.
Yeah. It's amazing what will happen. And if you consider being the speaker and being the person that's in the front of the room or in the front of Zoom, that you're basically networking with everybody who's in the audience. You
Yes.
know, and another great way to get started, Eventbrite. You know, you can host an event on there, whether
Yeah,
it's in
and
person,
meetup.com is very similar, right?
meetup.com. Meetup.com but you have to own the group, right?
Yeah.
I think because I
Yeah.
once upon
No,
a time I
that's what I
had
mean. Like
one.
you like is Eventbrite just for hosting a one-off event, or can you build a group on Eventbrite?
You can host an event on
Okay.
Eventbrite, and I've done this a couple of times. So that's a great way to either host an in-person or a virtual program. And but like it's you it doesn't you don't have to charge for it. You can charge something minor. And I think if you do charge, like Eventbrite does take a percentage of that, but that's a great way just to get started and meet new people who are in your area, or maybe just they're interested in your topic.
Yeah, and you know what you're really saying, what the discussion leads us to point out is like when you are perceived as the leader of something, when you are seen by many as the speaker or as the organizer, you're automatically networking with everybody at the same time. You
Yes.
know, whether
Yeah.
that's for business or for not. Like I recently have been putting together a local neighborhood dads group to rival the moms group, of course. But the process of going through and connecting with people and getting their information and putting them in a group and bringing them together and saying like, hey, here's what you want to do. Let's let the group evolve. And being it's like setting me up as one of the leaders in the community,
Hmm.
just by nature of the fact that I've brought people together and done the extra effort that nobody else has time for or was willing to do to bring it together. And you know that is powerful just as a way to build connection, but also as a way to be networking automatically, right? When you bring
Yeah.
people together. So I love that.
And then
Whether you
your
organize
view,
an event or you bring people together, it's the same
and
idea.
then you're trusted, and
Yeah,
then you're that person of authority, and you're the person that people are going to think of. Hey, do you know any dads who XYZ? And
right.
then you become this person of connection also.
Yeah, and one of the things I like to tell our coaching community, and also we tell our free community, like be a super connector, be the person who connects other people, who brings people together, who leads a group, who builds your own leadership, because that's what coaching is all about. It's leadership,
It is. You
and
are
speaking
leading.
is too.
Yeah, speaking is it's just a great way to meet new people, sign on your new clients, like, and just give that little taste of what you're like. I'm gonna share a story. I got asked, this is what I recommend to everybody. If you go to a conference and you're not the speaker, meet people who hire speakers, whether that's the meeting planner after day one, please, or for other events. So I attended an event with my husband. My husband's in the waste and recycling business. So I went to a plastic conference, plastic
Hmm.
recycling. And my husband connected with me with somebody and said, like she wants to meet, people who like book speakers. So he brought me and I met four men who were lined up talking together, networking, and they all hired speakers. But they didn't all hire leadership speakers. And they were like, you got to talk to him, scrap metal. And the scrap metal guy said, yeah, I got a conference in April, but I've already got my speakers. Here's what you say. When do you start planning and booking for next year? He said November. I said, I'll reach out to you the end of October. He called me 2 weeks later. One of his speakers had dropped out for whatever reason. So now my topic fit in so perfectly with the title and the description of the person who had dropped out. So now I'm on my way to Vancouver. They gave my husband a $1,500 ticket to the conference. So now he gets to network. And I spoke in this conference and I had this conversation with a gentleman, one of the CEOs over in Oregon. And I said, give me your address. I'll send you a copy of my book. 6 months later, he sent me an email. Laurie-Ann, I loved your book so much, I bought a copy for all of my managers. 6 months later, he called me and said, Laurie-Ann, I put together a yearly leadership retreat. What's it going to take to bring you to Oregon? And so I went to Oregon. A year later, he called me again and said, Laurie-Ann, I'm on the committee for the state of Oregon's recycling conference. What's it going to take to bring you back out here? Speaking is the gift that keeps on giving.
It's not just the speaking, it's like I wanted to point out, like, for everybody listening here, what Lorianne's doing is she's going with the flow and taking the initiative to go to that next step and to say, hey, putting yourself out there, here's what I do. Hey, let me reach out to you in October. She's making the effort to be top of mind for somebody. She's making the effort to make the impression, make the connection, and demonstrate that she has that initiative towards what they care about. And then she goes and does a good job, and she continues to put that foot forward. She's putting herself out there constantly. So the resistance that you might have to, like, actually going out there and having these conversations is the illusion that's stopping you, right? So,
Yes,
like, one of the things you're doing, you're just being free about it. You're not holding yourself back at all. You're letting this river take you forward, and you're also
right.
participating in that intentionally. So I just
Yes.
want to, like, just say, that's part of the game here. It's
Yeah.
not
And
it's not just doing one gig. It's about the way that you show up constantly.
yes. And sometimes you just have to do something without feeling ready to do it. I mean,
Hmm.
did I really feel like talking to all those guys? At a trash conference, plastic conference. I mean, that's like making lemonade out of the lemons. They're just like, hey, I'm here. I might as well find a gig.
Yeah.
And I did,
You're
you know,
making
and
yourself connective, right? You're making yourself connective.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And I will tell you that the original person that my husband's friend like tried to introduce me to, I mean, he totally blew me off. He didn't really care that I was a leadership speaker. And his friend came back and he was just like, "Did he blow you off?" And I go, "Yeah, he did." He goes, "Talk to that guy." And that was
Hmm.
that was the metal recycling guy that ended up booking me.
Yeah. Well, the people that
It's
blow you off aren't yet the right people,
That's
right?
right. And it was just like, "Hey, that's okay." And there I was like standing in front of these five guys. There's like one blows me off. She's like, "All right, can I talk to you?" Sometimes you just let people know like, "Hey, this is what I do." Do you have a need? Because again, like these people are looking for speakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going through one of my favorite business mentors these days, Alex Hermosi.
Mhm.
There's something he posted. He said that more businesses have failed by not being in front of people than by any other problem they have. And he kind of added something that you think that you're in front of people, but you're not. and speaking, writing, putting yourself out there, it helps us connect with those that we can serve. And what helps me summarize this process, I used to say this to myself. I think I heard it from Jim Rohn that when you've helped enough people, you'll get what you want. And a
Yeah.
lot of this is service. Like if your speech helps one person, even if they don't hire you, the ripple effect of that spreads. And for me, it hasn't stopped. It was funny. I was on a podcast. There was this business coach at the end of it said, referrals run their course at some point. This was about 4 years ago. It's like,
Hmm.
no, not true for me. And the reason it's not true because I've always put myself out there and supported people, and there have always been good people who have connected me with somebody that I've been able to support. Sometimes it's been big, sometimes it's been small, sometimes it's been somewhere in the middle. And like we said, if something is important to you, you're gonna go out there, put yourself out there, despite your resistance, despite your fears, despite you not being ready. None of us here were ready when we did any of this stuff, and there was nothing you could do to be ready fully until you actually do it and you see what it is. And even then, you realize, you know what? I don't need to be fully ready. I just need to consistently put myself out there and do the rips. If I do that long enough, the compound effect of that, whether that's connecting with people or just the skill sets that I've built in the process, will help me move forward and serve more people. I
Yes.
hope people take that to heart, even if one person changes their direction in this case and put themselves out there. I think that'll help other people. But first of all, I want to thank you, Laurie-Ann, for being on our show.
Thank you
I
very
needed to hear
much.
this message early on. I'd love for people to know how they can reach out to you and hear more from you.
Absolutely. So I do have two podcasts. I have the Be in Demand podcast, which is every week, and I also have public speaking monetization tips. It's a total of 18 episodes that takes you from beginning to end, point A to point B, really quick, telling you about the speaking process, how to get started, what your speech should be, and also what mistakes to avoid. And you can also find me on your favorite social by just going to my website, which is
.com.
Awesome.
speakandandout.com. Yes.
Yeah, it works.
Awesome. We'll
Awesome.
make sure that's
Yeah.
in the notes. And if you're a coach listening to this, definitely share this with a friend who's been struggling to put themselves out there. If you have something within you that you want to share, this might be a way to share. I mean, you've been gifted with the voice to share. And nobody has that from the beginning. They might have a gift, but almost everybody has to work on it. And this
Yeah.
might be an opportunity for you to do that. Go check out Laurie-Ann's resources and definitely check us out as well. And Danielle, you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, if you like this podcast episode, please do share it with other coaches, especially coaches who are thinking about speaking, because they can learn a lot from Laurie-Ann, and she shared her resources as well. If you'd like to join our free community, go to cmc.coach, and we go live every week, almost every week, on a different topic in the coaching world, and you don't get the full story live, raw, and edited unless you're listening to it live, as we later release it on an edited version of it. But please comment wherever you are watching this podcast, whether it's on Spotify or on YouTube or wherever it is, and let us know what you liked about this episode. And for those of you who would like more support, go to cmc.coach and reach out to us. We'll respond to you in the Facebook group there. And you can also contact us at coachingmasterycommunity.com. We have a contact form. You can get there by cmc.coach/contact, and you can send us a message, and we'll get that as well. So looking forward to supporting you coaches into the future. And Laurie-Ann, looking forward to staying in touch with you as we maybe one day we'll do another episode with you.
That would be great. And I just want anybody who's listening live now or maybe on the edited podcast, if you have a question, if there was a question that you had that I didn't answer, feel free to reach out to me. You can reach out to me on my website or on social. I am always here to help more people share their story and get clients from sharing your wisdom. There's so many different audiences that are out there and they're waiting for you. The world needs you.
I love that. What a great way to
Awesome.
end the podcast.
Thank you.
Well, thanks again, Laurie-Ann, for
Thank you.
joining our podcast today. And we look forward to keeping in touch.